Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, and I'm super excited you decided to join us today. Our guest today is another amazing woman who just refused to take no for an answer. She keeps moving on her journey despite the circumstances. Our guest today is Dr. Teresa Smith, aka Dr. Taz. We're excited to have you, Dr. Taz. Dr. Taz is a best-selling author, home cook, a podcast host, a personal development coach, radio contributor, and empowerment speaker. A very busy, busy woman. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Taz.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you. And anyone who follows you, anyone who hears you speak, anyone who picks up any of your books or anything that you own, know that you're passionate about personal development and self-care. It's from the heart. And I just love that. I love your slogan, take care of you. I absolutely love that. So talk to us about why this is so important to you.
You know, Melissa, thank you again for having me and giving me this opportunity to talk about something that's very dear to me. And it's something that I'm very intimately drawn to on a day-to-day basis. You know, it is so easy. I have to think sometime and try to be a little PC. But, you know, we used to have this thing called the Superwoman complex. And it is so easy to get caught up in that. But, you know, I want to flip it and not call it the Superwoman complex because it's about living life now. And I think because our world is so fast with all the different technology, we sometimes feel that if we're not doing what we see other people doing on social media, that we're not doing enough. And what happens is if we buy into that, something has to give. You can't be 100% in every aspect of your life every moment of the day. And so for me, I have had to learn to take care of me. And so that motto is to remind other people also, and I'm going to be honest, to remind me every time I say it, I'm also speaking to myself. You have to take care of you because we're striving to be the best version of ourselves. But sometimes we forget that the best version of ourselves comes through trials and tribulations. And that means that, you know, it's sort of like the tortoise and the hare. You know, it's a process. And being Speedy Gonzalez doesn't mean that you're going to get the outcome that you want, particularly when you sacrifice aspects of yourself to achieve it. And so that's the reason why, you know, from my side standpoint as a personal coach and empowerment coach, you have to always keep who you are at the forefront because it's so easy just to bypass who you are in your pursuit of whatever it is that you determine at that point that you want.
You're absolutely right. What I have to do, Dr. Toss, is I have to remind me that it's okay to take a moment. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm shutting down early tonight. I have to just remind myself of that, or we'll just keep going, keep going. And if you're not taking care of you, you're not taking care of nobody else either. So it's a reminder. So I want to tell our guests that's listening, it's okay to have to remind yourself. It's okay to be intentional about taking care of you. I absolutely love that. Okay, so Dr. Taz, you have enjoyed so many accomplishments through your journey. Just in the short while that I've known you, you have accomplished so many things, and congratulations on that. But one of those things is best-selling author. Recently, your most recent book, Dr. Taz Speak, Empower Your Journey, 31-Day Meditation, was best selling on Amazon. So super excited about that for you. Congratulations on that. So how does it feel to just have your hard work recognized? And tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, you know, Melissa, you happen to have the book with me. Empower Your Journey, 31-Day Meditation. One, when I was writing it, I didn't know it was going to be a bestseller. It was something that I was using every day. And then I thought, okay, why don't you share this with other people? And so for me to see something that I do on a daily basis, then to be received warmly by, you know, my audience and by others, it's very it's heartwarming. I'm humbled, I'm happy, because I put the work in, and I actually put the work in. I can't explain the number of hours that went into um, developing this book, even the cover. Things that people may think are just a simple thing to do. I went through many iterations of what the cover would be before we finally decided on what the cover was. And I went through many iterations of how to even name the book. Because again, keeping my audience in mind and then understanding what I wanted the message to be, because basically this book is my way of coaching people every day. There are 31 days worth of affirmations, meditation, work questions, reflection questions that are in this book. And it can be completed in any order, but I wanted to give people something that was tangible, because sometimes, I love listening to sermons. I love listening to clips of many different things that are inspirational. But sometimes I need something that I can actually hold in my hand
Mhm.
at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm feeling some kind of way, that can then help to guide me, give me a sense of peace, a sense of empowerment, a sense of everything's not over. It wasn't futile. You're on the right path. And so that was my desire when I created this book. And then to see that it's been well received, um, it's a testament to my God and that higher power working through me to help me to provide what he knew was needed at the time, because I didn't know it when I was doing it, but by the warm welcome, it lets me know that's exactly what people needed at that moment in time.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations again. Okay, so let's talk about the podcast, Talk with Taz. Now, I just think it's so inspirational. I think it's just moves you. But what were you thinking when you decided to do this podcast, and who is it for?
Well, the Talk with Todd's podcast is for individuals who may just need a boost of encouragement, individuals who may think that they're isolated, that things that have happened in their life are just for them, meaning that no one else has experienced those things. People who may, with their human eye, when they look at individuals, all they see is the success. They don't see what the individual had to go through to get to what they're now seeing. So, when I developed the Talk with Todd's podcast, I had that type of audience in mind. Someone who maybe learns better by listening, because I'm a teacher at heart. So I'm thinking about the different learning styles and being able to meet the person where they are. And with that podcast, I'm looking at how can I feature individuals who have overcome so much. And, of course, I'm an incest survivor. I have had a lot of health challenges. And so for me, I don't consider anything that I've done that has happened to me as making me less than. I look at it as making me better than. So therefore, I was trying to figure out how can I provide something, a platform for other individuals to become better than, and for them to see that they're not alone. That other people have had things that they've had to overcome, and it could be some of the things that they're trying to overcome. Pick up tips, because again, when you're out there on that island by yourself, you can't come up with every way to get yourself rescued. But if you can listen to what other people have done, sometimes it sparks our imagination. We start brainstorming, and it's like, oh, well, why don't I do this? I've done that, but maybe tweak it a little bit. And maybe that's the answer that I need. So when I developed the Talk with Todd podcast, that was my inspiration, to try to provide a mechanism for individuals to receive inspiration audibly that may impact who they are and maybe provide solutions to some of the struggles that they're enduring.
One of the biggest things that you just said for me and my journey, and I had the pleasure of actually being a guest on your show. But one of the things that I found, and once I acknowledged that I didn't have to keep that stuff to myself,
Yes.
I didn't have to hide behind it, and it wasn't a reflection of who I am as a person. And when I began to speak about it, when I began to see, what, there are other people who have gone through similar situations. I'm not alone. And just having shows like yours, shows like this one as well, that will help you be able to say, you know what, you went through that, but
Mhm.
it empowered you.
Yes.
It did not stop you. And that's the power of your talk show. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to pause here. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Our guest today is Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. Taz. She's a best-selling author, a home cook, podcast host, a personal development coach, radio contributor, and empowerment speaker. Okay, Dr. Taz, I want to talk about the cooking show.
Yes, 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 yes.
I love cooking shows. I love cooking shows. And I watch your episode all the time. I don't do much cooking,
Okay,
but,
Melissa, we got
but
to
I
work on
love
that.
cooking shows are one of my favorite things to watch. I get up early in the morning when they're on TV. I watch cooking shows. But one of the things about your show that I like is you're sharing personal stories along the way, and you're making it just fun. And I absolutely love that. So where did that enthusiasm come from? Your love for cooking? Share that with us.
Well, Melissa, I have been cooking since I was 9. I can go back to when my easy bake oven, and I said to someone earlier this year, I'm going to have to put my easy bake oven out, and I haven't done it yet. So at some time, I'm going to have to be in the kitchen with my easy bake oven because I still have it. But I can remember the easy bake oven. They used to have this little thing. It was like a little snack cake, and came in a box, and the pan that you would cook it in was part of the box. And my mother taught me how to cook scratch cornbread by the time I was 9. And I just progressed from there, making homemade cakes and things of that nature. And so cooking has always been, sometimes I call it my art. It's just always been a part of me. And I loved it. And so when the opportunity came to write my cookbook, guys, I was like, okay, but it had to be different because at that point, I've got Graves' disease, I had gastric sleeve surgery. So I still love to cook, but I only eat a little bit of food. And so I'm like, okay, now how can you combine all of that? Because it's such a big part of my personality
Mhm.
in my life. And so when I got the opportunity, I started writing my cookbook. And, it was a bestseller too. Now, it was my first bestseller. And, folks like your cookbook. And it was the cookbook, because I'm thinking the cookbook, because I can remember somebody saying to me, you want a show or you want to do? I'm like, yeah. But what the cookbook does, Melissa, that is ironic, but it really isn't when you really know me. It allows me to be me. Now, somebody may say, was what we see not you? Yeah, it's me, but you get the fun side with me because I get to talk about what's going on. I bring a little serious stuff in, but I love to cook and I love to create. And when I'm in the kitchen, I'm in my zone. I take it serious, like nobody can believe it. It is real serious to me. And of course, with my cooking, guys, I am taking those great recipes that we love to eat. And I like to say they're not so good for us, but they're good, but they're not good for us. And I'm transforming them because we have to, for me, I have to have a healthier version of it. And I understand you can't go cold turkey and say, okay, I'm never going to have a piece of fried chicken. You're going to have a piece of fried chicken. I may bake the chicken, I may put it in the air fryer, but again, I'm going to have chicken. So, it's my way of showcasing my cooking. And in this book, I give you a little story behind how I came up with the recipes. Because again, my mother and I, when we were cooking, she taught me how to cook, we were always sharing stories. And my dad used to say, oh, they're going to fall out. They're going to fall out. And he was right. We would fall out because as I got older, I had my own ideas about how to prepare stuff. And so therefore, she's still telling me how she wanted it done. And I'm supposed to be her sous chef, but I want to do it my way. So it's, but those are memories, guys, that are priceless. And so I wanted to share some of the memories and some of the backstory about how I created the recipes. So that's the other part of me that is really me because you get to combine everything into the cooking. And so I just love it.
You can tell you love it. You light up. You're smiling the entire time you're talking about. Hold the book up again so folks can see the book again so they can grab it. And it's just amazing. I love hearing you talk about it and the joy it brought to you just to talk about it. Thank you for sharing that. So, Dr. Tots, we talked about your journey, the different areas of your journey, but I know that it all hasn't been easy and it doesn't look as simple as when you show up looking beautiful. There's some things, there were some ups and some downs, but you pushed through them. Share with us some challenges you faced and that you had to overcome and how you overcome them and kept going.
My first book, Stronger, how overcoming life's adversity can push you into your purpose. In this book, I talk about, being an incest survivor. I talk about bullying. And in there, I provide some declarations and some strategies that I use to help me overcome. Um, One of those strategies is music. And, we know music is healing, but for me, music really speaks to the essence of who I am. And when I was a child, I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was using music as a meditation, an affirmation that I could continue, and that where I was not going to be the end. I think about one of the things that I write about in the book is my uncle's death. It was only My uncle was killed Sunday, January the 1st, 1978, right in front of myself and my mother by the police. And when I wrote the book, it's amazing that I didn't understand until probably 5 years later that I had been impacted by police violence because I was such a young child. I just knew my uncle was killed on Sunday, January the 1st, 1978. And I say it that way because it's the first day of the new year, but it's Sunday because, the first of the year it doesn't come on a Sunday often. And so that has been ingrained in my mind. But afterwards, fast forward all these years, I realized that I had been impacted by police violence. And what that said to me was how easy it is to disconnect, even though you're connected, because I've always been connected to it. And I regretted something that I didn't do, and I had to let that regret go. Meaning, I knew my uncle, he was a Vietnam vet. I knew my uncle was getting sick because of something that he didn't do that he would have normally done. So that was a guilt that I carried. But then I had to let that go. But then to not even realize that I too had been impacted by police violence. So when I talk about stronger, how overcoming life's adversities can push you into your purpose, I guess the message that I would like for people to get is life is constantly happening to us, but we don't always see the impact of it until later. We think we know what the impact is, but we don't always get it until later. Because I was, doing much better. I was putting my strategies in place, but there was one strategy I never put in place because I didn't know that I needed that strategy. And that's sometimes what life is all about. We don't know that we need it.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And okay, so now I want to talk to you about um, encouraging yourself. As entrepreneurs, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We stay busy. We get up early. We go to bed late, and we're doing something all day long. Just recently, I started just setting aside lunch and looking at the clock and say it's lunchtime. And even if I'm not hungry, this is when I need to stop, because without doing that, I would just keep going and keep going and keep going. But oftentimes, that desire to keep going is when we're not taking care of ourselves. We're just going. We're not doing anything for ourselves. So, talk to us about what you do when you just need to breathe. You need to get some encouragement poured back into you. What do you do?
Well, Melissa, that music is central. In Stronger, I have song titles in there, and I think I did the same thing in the Bounce Back. Music is key, but what I also do is I disconnect. Um, most people probably haven't realized there's a pattern to when I'm on social media. I'm not on social media on Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday. Now, sometimes, depending upon what's going on, I may actually quote unquote be on, but I'm really not. And I learned this, Melissa, when I had to bounce back, that I didn't have enough time for me. So I'm very intentional about being away from social media. Some people think, well, when you're on there, isn't it just fun? No, it's not, because I am a media personality. So when I'm on social media, I'm working. I'm not on there just strolling to see what's going on.
Right.
It's work. And people don't get that. So what I do is I make sure I take that time away from that. And then I disconnect from everything else. whether it's going to be a spa day outside the home, whether it's going to be a spa day inside the home, movie day in or out of the home. I try to do the things that bring me peace, whether it's just me sitting. My mother has this thing about sitting and just letting your legs swing back and forth, you know, but I do that sometimes, and people are like, yeah, because that when I do that, I'm not doing anything. There's no book in my hand, there's no phone in my hand, the TV's not on, there's no music. I'm just being with myself. And what I find is when I am intentional about being with myself, I hear God. And it's amazing. I get things that it would take me probably 6 or 7 months to get because I'm finally still. But I will tell you, Melissa, that's a hard thing to do and a hard place to get to because, like you said, you have to schedule it because otherwise, I, I don't know why, but I do know why. Why we cannot accept that we are the most important thing in the day. And if I don't take care of me, nothing else is going to get done. But when we say that, it's almost like you have to then justify it. But we should never have to justify taking care of ourselves. We don't justify taking care of our kids or our parents or our mate if we've got one. We don't justify that, but we have to justify taking care of ourselves. And I think that we've bought into something with society, and we need to let that go.
I absolutely 100% agree. And if nothing else, I hope our listeners take from what you just said. You are intentional about the time. You don't just see if it happens, you don't just squeeze it in somewhere. You are intentional about taking care of you and setting that time aside for you. And I just love that. And I hope everyone got that out of it. Dr. Thomas, this has been an amazing conversation. But one last question is, we have some people listening right now that have that dream in their belly, hadn't pressed the start button because all the T's are not crossed, the I's are not dotted, and they just simply haven't started. But we also have that person who started and had the list and had the schedule, things not quite working out like they thought, it's taking longer, it's harder than they thought, and they're thinking about quitting. But maybe they did quit because it just got hard. What advice did you have for them?
I would say whether you started and you had to quit or take a step back, whether this is going to sound so bad, but I'm Southern. There's a phrase, use the bathroom or get off the pot. I'm cleaning up a little bit for you guys. I'm cleaning up a little bit. Whether you're that person who talks about it, but you can't ever get started, take the leap. Start. Because if you don't make steps, you're never going to get there. If you have to detour, if you're that person who's been working on it and you have to detour, no problem. Take the detour, get back on the highway, and continue. I had COVID recently, and I wasn't expecting COVID. And out of 4 years, I finally got COVID. Well, I was away from social media for 2 weeks. So basically, it derailed. I shouldn't say derailed, wrong choice of word. I had to take a detour. So when I came back, which I've just come back, I'm having to go back and do some things that I had already done in order for the things that I have planned to make sense because I had to detour. That's life. Don't look at it as failure. Accept it as a lesson and keep moving. So, what is Dr. Todd saying? We all start this journey at different places. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. You are unique. Do it your way. And don't let other people, yourself first, tell you that you can't do it. Start small, but continue to do whatever it is that you're doing. Because if you don't start, you're never going to achieve your goals. So just start and then celebrate every step along the way, whether it was something that you would say, oh, I should celebrate this, or other people say, oh, you should celebrate this, or it's just a lesson that's learned. And Melissa, you would agree, I'm sure that in your business, because you have been a business owner for years, it is not always up. But every time there has been something down, you have learned from that and you've used that to leverage your business and your brand to another place. So get started. Don't look at things as a setback. Learn the lesson, leverage it, and go the next leg of the journey. because it's your journey and you can achieve your dreams, but you've got to be the person who is pulling your wagon. As my mother said, you can push your red wagon or you can pull it, whichever way you want to do it. But I think you want to pull it. You don't want to push that wagon.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you, Dr. Tosh, for being here today. This has been such an amazing conversation. What's next for you? What do we have to look forward to from Dr. Tosh?
Well, thank you, Melissa, for having me. You know, I got a book in the oven, guys. I got a book in the oven. Now, I don't know when I'm going to be able to bring that book out. So I just want to put that out there. So when it comes out, y'all going to say, she just said she had a book in the oven. I've got a book that's in the oven that I have been working on probably 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And eventually this book is going to come out the oven. And I'm really excited about it. It's a true labor of love. Of course, getting geared up for my my show with my sister, Real Talk with Taz and Angelia. We're trying to figure out all the logistics for that for this fall. And of course, I'm going to be gearing up my podcast, doing some interviews. So it's a lot of things in the air, Melissa. But I guess the one thing that I'm going to say that I probably normally wouldn't say, I'm going to be taking care of me at the same time that I'm doing all of this stuff, because I have to remain mindful. I have to remain intentional, because I can't do all of that and not take care of me. So it sounds great, but I'm going to have to take care of me and adjust as I need to. And I invite the audience to do the same thing, regardless of what your goals are. Remember, you got to adjust and take care of you and then continue down the road.
And that is amazing. Thank you again. Let our audience know how to stay connected with you.
Thank you, Melissa. The best way to stay connected to me is just to go to my website, askdrtaz.com. That's ASKDRTAS.com. It's got all of my contact information there, and you can send me a message from there, and I'd love to hear from you.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Tosh, for being here today. And thank you to our audience for joining us for this edition of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, saying all your dreams are possible. Believe in yourself and don't quit. Until next time, enjoy your day.